to talk about estimating. Now, what's the purpose of us trying to do estimating in a shop? Anyone? Yes.
To price how much it's going to take to fix.
We need to know how much it's going to take to fix the vehicle, okay? We've got to know. Now, has anybody ever had a vehicle fixed in a shop?
I want to estimate it.
Okay, you had one estimated.
Yeah.
All right, why did you go get it estimated?
Because it needed fixed.
Well, why did you get it estimated?
For the police report.
You wanted to know how much it was going to cost you, didn't you? What about you, Austin?
Insurance needed it.
Insurance needed it. So there's a couple of reasons to get it. Insurance is not going to just go out and say, yeah, get old John Doe's body shop to fix your car and have him send us a bill. That's not the way it works. We live in this wonderful world of competition, okay? And thank God we have competition. Competition keeps us in line, okay? So back to us learning to write an estimate, it's critically important because we're going to be looked at. That people are going to go down the road and they're going to go for what? The best price, okay? Now, I preach a little bit more in life than just the best price. I teach good quality work. And I tell people this, I may not be the cheapest, I won't be the highest, but I'll give you a good quality work. But anyway, estimates are there for the purpose of insurance, okay? So insurance is a one good reason. They're going to require an estimate. How many will they require depends on this. It depends on, is it drivable? Will it drive? If it will, well, they might say, you know what? Yep, it drives. Get me a couple of estimates. Good enough. They got to see some competition going on there, on the average. If the car's not drivable, if you go to no right here, and it's not drivable, they very well just get the person at the location where it was towed, if they can, to give them an estimate, or they'll have someone to go out and make an estimate, okay? Now, at that point, the insurance adjuster is going to come in and look at things. So, the insurance adjuster, he is the person that works between the owner and the body shop. You know, the owner may say, well, I wanted a new hood, and the body shop said, no, we're going to repair it. And he comes in and he looks at that hood and says, you know, justifiably, this just needs repaired. It only has a 2-hour dent. If it was worse, we'd get it, and they convince. So they've got to work between the two. So they got a job on their hands. They've got a challenging job on their hands to try to satisfy the customer, okay, and keep the body shop happy. So welcome to the real world, maybe of insurance adjusting for some of you someday. Normally, to be an adjuster, you're going to have to work your way up the ladder and find out, Mr. Chandler, that you're a good repairman and you're dependable and you've got enough. There's one more thing that goes being an insurance adjuster. You've got to be able to deal with people. Some of you may not be very good at dealing with people. If you can't deal with people, you're not going to be an adjuster. It's just not going to work, okay? So, we get these estimates, as we were going to discuss earlier, we'll discuss them. We do an estimate for the purpose of the insurance company, and we do it for just personal. We want to know. So somebody will come to you and they might not always have insurance, okay? Now where does this come in for you as a student? You go, oh my buds, that's down the road. If I get that insurance job, I'll learn how to read an estimate. I'll learn how to make an estimate. But it does apply to you if you leave the program as a graduate. It should apply to you instantly. Why would you need to know how to read an estimate?
Well, so you can understand what's supposed to be going on, for one.
Okay? So what I would want, go ahead, Paul.
You know, it's important for any auto body guy to kind of know how to read an estimate because it shows them like how many hours it should take to, fix something.
Right.
Or if something needs replaced.
Exactly right. You need to know, if you're working for someone, whether it's by the hour on commission, we'll talk about commission in just a minute, you go to work for someone by the hour, I like to at least think that I'm getting him his money's worth. If that door says, this dent on this door says I should be able to straighten it, say there's a dent on here, and it says I should be able to straighten this dent here, in a 2-hour time frame, I won't try to stay within that. Because the boss, you know, if you can't make your boss money, can you afford to pay you? No, you can't do it. So we got to make money on the thing, okay? So the other reason for it is doing commission, okay? What is commission? Yes, sir.
And you get paid based on how much work you get done instead of how much time you spend working.
Exactly right. It's a very popular thing to work on commission in a body shop. Meaning, you drive the car in, the boss hands you a copy of the estimate, and this estimate's gonna tell you what to do to that car, by the way, what to repair that door, or what to replace that door, or whatever. Or this gets painted, or that don't get painted. Does everybody understand that? But the commission part of it is this. If you do commission, the commission is this normally. Anywhere from 30 to 50% of the hourly part of it. I've talked to a lot of my people that leave class, usually within the first 6 months are on commission. They may be turning 60, 80 hours a week, but they may not be on the clock but 40. Does that make sense? They go this 2-hour dent and they're able to straighten it in one. Okay? They're gonna paint a door, and let's say a fender, and the book may give them 6.8 hours and they may turn around and do it in 4.0. They jumped it up and made, so everybody see how it works, so you can go in there faster, okay? You go in there faster and do it on your commission. So bottom line is, so the commission, you get paid for what you do, okay? Get paid for what you do. Now, let's go back and understand some things we need to know, some terms we need to know. So let's look at this. Let's talk about this first. Estimates are written in hours and tenths of hours. Okay? Alright, so it's pretty easy to say, well, hours, tenths of hour. We know what a complete hour is, right? So 1 hour is just a solid hour, but then we turn everything into tenths, okay? So we may say 1.3. Here's what you got to ask yourself. How long is 3/10 of an hour?
18 minutes.
Huh?
18 minutes.
Okay. Smart thinking. Everybody got that down? He said 18 minutes. Okay, 18 minutes. So bottom line is, you guys don't get all messed up on tenths, but that's how they're gonna do it. You hardly ever see anything you do see things that come off 2.0 hours or 6.0 hours or whatever. So you'll know how to read the estimate. Where's the hourly rate come from? The hourly rate comes from, it's a nationwide thing and it's set. Where we basically have about 3 or 4 estimating companies or systems nationwide. You got CCC, which we have, it's a very popular one. You got a Mitchell, which is a very popular one, okay? We have a couple more that's well recognized. And shops and insurance companies use that system. Some shops will use more than one system, and they'll try to use the one that pays the most. Some shops may find one that paid you 6.3 to paint a door, and another one may have only paid 5.9. But when you find out what insurance company system they're using, that's one you need to stick with. Or some of them may say, well, I use a Mitchell for this company and I use a CCC for this one. So it's always gonna be an hours intensive hour. How do they come up with that time? They don't just shoot off the hip. Anybody? You say, well, wait, how long does it take to take a fender off of a car, Paul, and put it back on? There should be another question come in real quick to somebody's mind. How long does it take to take a fender off of a car and put it back on? Something else should come to your mind here real quick. You should have a question, Freddie. What? What kind of car is it? Hey, those little fender skins like we use going on off pretty quick. But some of the vehicles that have the fender and the inner apron liner like pickups, not necessarily older pickups, but some that's not very old at all, it's pretty major, ain't it? See what I'm saying? I mean, you gotta remove the hood and you gotta do this and you got, them fender skins like we just did, you don't have to remove the hood or anything. Does everybody follow what I'm saying? So the question should be, how long, well, what car or truck? So anyway, here's how they come up with these figures. They come up with the idea, and they'll use CCC, which is what we use. They have collected data information, basically surveyed. How long did it take you to do this fender? How long did it take you to take a fender on off? Okay, like that. They can't really go with assembly line because that's not very accurate, because assembly line is just putting it on anyway. And they got everything in perfect conditions, okay? Perfect. And so they will actually go out with a team, and it may be a team of so many people here, Chandler. Maybe it's a team that has this running. And they may line up Mustangs like that, and they say, okay, every one of you take this fender on, off the car, lay it on the table, everybody put it back on, and they time it. And then, will everyone be the same? No, but they'll take an average time, and that's recognized. So whether we agree with it or we disagree with it, when we go to replace a new part, we're gonna have to go by that time that's given nationwide. Does everybody understand that? That's how much time you're gonna get. And if you got in there and fight a rusty bolt at them, what do you think's gonna happen? You ain't gonna get paid no more. That's reading people like, most insurance people like working on new late model cars, they don't have to deal with that rusty bolt. Freddie, you poor guys, you and Hunters had to deal with a lot of rusty bolts, had you, bless your hearts. See where I'm going? And so, but the average time is for a basically new car, so it's set up and it'll tell you just how much time to pull that in. But they're gonna give it to you in hours, in tenths of an hour, okay? So 1.3 hours again is equal to what?
An hour and 18 minutes.
Okay, 1 hour, 18 minutes. Well, when you say 18 minutes, does every minute in a shop count?
Yes.
Yep.
Those times you're on your phone, those times you're in the bathroom, those times you're talking to a customer, those times you're visiting with your friend, are you getting paid?
No.
If you're working by the hour, you are, but if you do that too much, what's the boss gonna do?
Fire you.
Fire you. Okay, exactly right. So every minute counts, it does, okay? They're not talking about coffee breaks, they're not talking about phone breaks or working time. Is everybody with me? And the good news is, it's a pretty good average. I think I said this the other day, but the average student that we put out as a graduate after a couple years can, I said average, meet book time, and that's good. You can meet book time. What we want you to do is be able to beat it. Right, Chandler? Be able to beat it, okay? Be able to beat it. So that's how we get our time, okay? How much time it takes. Now, another thing we want to look into, and I'll come over here, is parts. We get part prices out of there. You want to know how much something costs? Mr. Witt should be able to pull up how much that fender is also in a minute. So the cost of a part, parts cost. Now we can get basically the new OEM price. OEM stands for what? Right?
Original quoted value.
Which,
Factory.
let's call it, say it again.
The factory part.
Factory part. stamped out. When we go to the Nissan plant, you'll see all kinds of fenders on a cart rolling down through there. After all, they're putting a couple thousand together a day. You'll see a lot of fenders, ain't you? And they'll be stamping those out. You'll go by the stamping machine and boom, boom. I mean, they're stamping those things out right and left. Interesting. They will stamp out some extra parts that's not being used there today. And those extra parts are coming out to the dealership to be sold to us in body shops, replacement parts. Everybody understand what I'm saying? So that's where you're gonna get your prices right here. You say, well, what about, once in a while it will show a LKQ part price, and I'm gonna put a question mark on that because sometimes it does not show you. What does LKQ stand for, Paul?
Like kind quality?
Like, kind, and quality. Be sure you know what that stands for. Like, kind, and quality. Which means that's new, but it's aftermarket. Y'all know how it is. You can buy Bayer aspirin and you can buy generic aspirin, right? Are they both good aspirin? Yes. Everybody understand that? Okay. But their job in the estimating business is to put out the new OEM price. And it'll give you time based on that OEM part. Now, what about used parts? What about them? Where do we get prices on that? We got about 3 or 4 salvage yards in Northeast Arkansas. When I need to find a used part, what are you gonna do? You need to call them up. What's your question's gonna be, Chandler? What are you gonna ask them? What's the first question gonna be?
Well, if they got it.
Have you got a door for that left, 2015 door, left door for a Mustang? Yes, sir, I sure do. How much you want for that part? That's your second question, isn't it?
Well, the condition of it.
Yeah.
That's very good. Be sure to get the condition of it. So,
Yeah, I've got it.
Barber, used parts, they will not be in the system, we'll call it. Everybody got it? They're not gonna be there.
Yes.
So you're gonna have to call and get the price, get prices, okay? Now let's talk about how to make a little money here right quick. Let me show you how to make money on parts. And by the way, there's money in everything you do. If there's not, how can they stay in business? Right? So let's look at parts. How do we make money? Okay, so when you get a part in, let's say it's new, here's where it's gonna work. When he pulls up the part price, the price you pull up is what you charge the insurance company and what you charge the owner. Does everybody understand that? Got it? That will not be the price that you should pay. Make sense? You buy wholesale, you sell retail. So there's lots of good money in a body shop to be made on parts. Will you get commission on parts? The answer is no. That's strictly for the shop owner. And we'll go into that later, talking about how much money he's got to spend just to stay in business. Mr. Witt, would you mind giving me the new price on the left fender, on the Mustang?
$307.
$307 is what we're gonna charge the customer, okay? So tell me, if I get a 20% discount, how much money am I gonna make on that part? So, and I'm gonna say this, the markup, let's talk about the markup, is either gonna be 20 to 30%. That's where you make your money, okay? If we go 20% over here, how much money did your body shop make on that part? Freddie?
6140.
Huh?
6140 is 20%.
61?
40.
$61.
$61.40.
Yep.
That's correct, and I hope some of you guys been around long enough, you look at that and say, if it's 10%, it'd be $30 and something, $30.70, wouldn't it? Everybody with me? He just doubled that up in his head, or did you really look it up?
I did in my brain.
It's good to have a brain, but since we don't all have brains yet, I know a lot of you got them, because some of you ain't never used them yet. Bottom line is, I ain't used mine a lot, but pull out the old phone and be sure, da. Okay, so the way to find that is 307 times 0.20, 20%. So, how do you get the difference between 20% or 30%? Chandler, any idea how you know what you're gonna get? Okay, so we're gonna turn around, we're gonna call these dealerships, and you get established with one and you know what to expect. With Ford in Memphis, we're getting right at 30% right now. Okay, AutoNation, but there's some of our Nissan parts we're only getting 20% on. So they put in a new dealership every once in a while. You want to call and say, hey man, what kind of discount can you give me here? You know, if I start ordering all my parts. It's just a matter of wheeling and dealing. Does everybody understand that? Mm-hmm. So don't call a dealer and say, well, my instructor said you would give me 30%. They're gonna go, your instructor's just funny. What I say ain't gonna matter. Everybody with me? But that's how you make money. So you can make money on parts. Now we got a used part. Okay, so now we got this used part that we get from, say, Economy Auto Salvage or Pratt's Auto Salvage in Hoxie or whatever. So I said, well, let me call about that fender right quick. And I called down there and he said, I'll tell you what, Butch, he said, I've got one I'll sell you for $150 and it's in good condition. Okay? You go, okay. Yeah, okay. Now, how you gonna make money on that? Freddie, common sense.
Mark it up.
Mark it up. So what's standard to mark it up? Here it is. Are you watching? Are you taking notes? 25% markup on used parts. So what's 25% of 150? Somebody like Chandler, you look it up.
37.50.
37.50. So now we got to take that 150, mark it up, $37.50 for a total cost of $187.50. So you turn to that customer and say, well, I'll tell you what, I can sell you this used fender in really good condition for $187.50, or I can sell you this new one 307. What do you think he's going to do?
Gonna use that.
Now I know you didn't make as much money on it, but you kept the customer happy, didn't you? Right? Is everybody with me? So remember this is a point that I've got to make sure everybody's got clarification on parts. When you look at it back there again, where Mr. Witt is, that price right there has already been marked up. I mean, it's the retail price. So it will cost you less. So everybody understand the new price and also the used price right here, okay? It's not uncommon to call for a used part. So that's about parts, okay? Let's rehearse just a little bit more here on that. Pull up the hood and on the same car. So Mr. Witt's pulling that up right now as we speak. Yes, sir.
So what would you do if you could get one right now, or you could get one in a week, but the one right now is $75 more than the one in a week?
It's about, do you have that time or not? I've done it many a time. Pay for convenience. Keep that customer happy. If the job ain't gonna be to your shop in the week anyway, get the cheaper one. If that customer's in a hurry and you figure it out, or you got, let's say you got it out in the shop, you're working on it, and all of a sudden you found out your door regulator's bad on the inside, you need it now, go for the now. Again, y'all know what common sense is? Keep that customer happy. Mr. Witt, would you give us a price of a new hood, please? List price.
List price is $1,030.87.
Now, excuse me. $1,030.87. Okay. So we're going to do the first question is going to get 20%. Somebody's going to get a 25%. And somebody's going to give me a 30% answer. And I'm going to need them right quick. So have your phones in your pocket ready to go. Chapel, give me the 20% markup on that. How much money would we make?
$206.
$206 just for ordering that hood. Pretty good bucks, right?
17 cents.
Huh?
Yeah, 206 and 17.
17 cents. Mr. Chandler, you're next. 25%. How much money we gonna make on that? That's pretty average right there.
257.72.
257.72, we might make on that hood. Now, if you got this shop and you do a lot of ordering and all that, and they say, man, I'm giving that guy 30% because I want his $200,000 business that I get every year. So that would be back to, yeah, go ahead there, Barber.
309, 26 cents.
309 what?
26 cents.
26? That's pretty good money for just calling down and ordering a hood, ain't it? That's better than making McDonald's, ain't it? This ain't a bad business, but you gotta stay on your toes, you gotta keep your head out of your tail. Everybody follow what I'm saying? Seriously. It's a good business to be in. This is standard stuff, I'm telling you. It's not concrete anywhere you go. But on a part that expensive, let's back up over here. I'm gonna go back to the used side of things. On a part that expensive, especially if this car is 2 or 3 years old, I very well may call Economy and say, hey, man, what can you get me a hood for? There's no rule of thumb to say what they're gonna charge you. I have an idea. I hope at least half of new, but that's no big. So Austin, let's say that he turned around and said, I'll tell you what, Butch, I got a slick hood out here for $500, I'll say. Okay? Okay? $500. Now, let's go back to this right here. Ryan, how much am I gonna sell this to the customer for?
$625.
How much?
$625.
So is that a $125 markup?
Yeah.
What's the standard markup? You're right.
25.
So at a 25% standard, gonna mark it up $125. We can sell this hood to this customer for $625. Okay, sale price. Now, you come over here and you say, well, I could have made more money. Yeah, you could, but you want to keep the customer happy, right? Is everybody with me on that? Remember, people that are in business, been there a long time, it's not because they go for every dollar they can get. They try to give good work, try to get best prices, and I think that works in anything you do, okay? Okay, so does everybody understand used parts versus new parts? Okay? Now, also, can I back up and say, do you understand time? How they come up with time. Mr. Witt, let's talk about that time just a minute before we close out here. So I will erase this over here if no one needs it. He's gonna go to the time right quick. And we're gonna go to time again. Mr. Witt, we're gonna go to the hood first. Okay, what is the time on that hood?
Just to remove it and put it back on, it's 1 hour and 0.8.
Now just let me ask you a question. How many of y'all think you could take a hood off, put it back on a car? Well, what's 0.8 of an hour? How many minutes is that? Huh?
48.
48 minutes? That's an hour and 48 minutes. I mean, how many of y'all think you could take a hood off and put it back on a car and line it up in that length of time? How many can do that?
15 minutes.
How many's ever took a hood off one time? Well, how long did it take you? Does everybody understand what I'm saying? Can you do this? Yes, but there's one more catch. That time includes having to go in and take everything off the old hood and put it on the new hood. Now, by the way, this ain't got nothing to do with painting the hood right now. Let's don't get that mixed up. This has got nothing to do with painting the hood. Is everybody with me? Not a thing to do with painting it. This is strictly what we call body labor. Okay? So 1.8 hours. And so tell me, Mr. Freddie, from experience, what might you have to take off that old hood to put on your new hood?
The insulation.
The insulation under the bottom, maybe a hood light. You remember that to mute my phone. Maybe a hood light right there, okay?
Spoilers.
So bottom line is, not much on the hood, maybe some windshield washers,
Maybe an emblem.
maybe an emblem, maybe, not much. Y'all think there can be money made in this business? Oh yeah, man. I mean, you got time to drink a cup of cocoa in between that. It's not bad. But now remember, Mr. Witt, would you go give me the fender time? Now this is body labor. Let's do not confuse that with paint labor because it's totally different. Mr. Witt, let's go to the fender, please, sir.
2.4.
2.4. Now, which one would you rather change, the hood or the fender? Well, the hood's relatively simple.
Yeah.
The fender could be simple, but they give you a little more time for it. What is there to take off of a fender? Go ahead, do what?
It's got moldings, it could have stripes.
That GT emblem's gotta be took off and put on there, don't it?
It could
You may have to have striping done, they're not gonna pay you to put that stripe on twice, right?
Nope.
Okay, they should give you a separate price for the headlight, but sometimes they will not. Does everybody understand that? So you may have to remove that headlight, that's, we better do, and you may have to probably unclip that bumper right there where it goes on, right? Does everybody understand what I'm saying? Does everybody understand time and where it comes from? Hours and tenths of an hour, so 2.4 hours is 2 hours and how many minutes?
24 minutes?
All you gotta do is model, each tenth of an hour is worth, each tenth of an hour is worth 6 minutes, just remember that, okay? It's nothing unusual to get on the car and it may give you 1/10 of an hour to do something, or 2/10 of an hour. They're paying you to do everything. But how do you make money?
Do it fast, good.
Fast.
Stay with your job and work steady, man. That's how, it's not that hard to do. All right, so I'm gonna end this today I'm gonna go back over this for a minute, but remember, the estimating is done for the customer's satisfaction and the insurance company. They're gonna, depending on whether it's drivable or not, how many they'll require you to get. If it's not drivable, usually one. If it is, usually a couple, okay? And the cheapest shop may win the game and most likely will, okay? And then just remember an adjuster, what's an adjuster's job there, Austin? The adjuster works for the insurance company. He's working out the issues between the customer and the shop and saying, this is what we'll actually pay, okay? All right. So, the time is figured in hours and tenths of an hour. Parts, you know how to come up with new parts from the computer. Used parts, you're gonna call whoever's got them. Remember, on new parts, there are already lists. It's a list price, what you need to charge the customer. Don't be marking those up. You ain't gonna have much business left. They're giving you suggested retail price. But you will make money on that, whether it's 20, 25, 30%. Used parts, again, I'm repeating myself. They said, I'll sell you something for 500, you've got to mark it up to stay in business, right? Okay. Do you have to mark it up 25%? What if it's a pickup bed and he says, I'll tell you what, Butch, we'll sell you that bed for $2,000, complete bed. I said, well, I can mark that up 25%, and that'd be about $500, but I need this job right now, I'm thinking a little slow. I may just mark it up a couple $100. I consider that a good deal. See what I'm saying? It's your choice. But what's standard markup on used? 25%. Do we have any questions? Paul, you got tons of questions? Okay. Okay. So if we're good on that, we'll stop.